All right. Welcome to another episode of Levi in the Closet. Thank you guys for checking out my videos. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you again. And please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. And if you want to message me, message Levi Acid on Instagram. And if you have any kind of questions or topics about life and dating or anything about, mental health related, or if you're going through anything, I'd love to help you guys out. And if you want to see that in my next video, just message me on Instagram at Levi Acid. So getting into it today, the item out of my closet, it's this Nautica polo shirt. I'm a big fan of the polo shirt. More recently for work, I've had to wear, it's more of like a dressier, more like I don't know what kind of material it is, like nylon almost material polo shirt. So I haven't worn a lot because it reminds me of, working, but when I do go out, when I go to the bar, when I go on a date, I rock the polo shirt. I think it looks really nice, especially, just with my style. People don't really expect that from me. They don't expect me to want to dress up like that. They probably, figure I'm going to wear like just a t-shirt and some jeans or something, but I do like to dress it up kind of nice. This particular one, it's Nautica again. It's got some patches on the sleeve. It's got like different material. Like, I don't know what this is here, but it's got like a interesting like pattern. It's like a soft material. It reminds me of my childhood blanket, like my little blankie when I was a kid. It's got the interesting stitching on the back. It's also got another little swatcher that I don't know what that is, but the softer material, probably like an older, more vintage Nautica. Not exactly sure from what year. Another patch on the sleeve. I'm a big fan of Nautica. My brother and I both really love the Nautica brand, and a lot of the clothes that I have, or I got some really nice coats, and anytime I see some really neat Nautica in the thrift, I gotta pick it up. Sometimes it's a little bit more expensive, but generally, if you go to Goodwill or another thrift store like that, you can find some Nautica for a real low price, and gotta cop it. Gotta cop that Nautica. So, anyway, getting into the topic of today's video, it's kind of a little life story here. My experience with pot and smoking, and just where I've come from, my beginning to where I am now with smoking, and how it made me feel, and just my life experience with it. So back probably the first time I ever smoked, it was a little bit later for me. I know a lot of people I talk to, they're like, oh yeah, I started smoking, when I was like 14 or maybe even younger than that. But I was 17, I believe. And I went to the park. I was longboarding. I was really into longboarding at the time. And there was a park near my house I would go to. And it had this little path you could go down. And it went back behind somebody's house. Like, there was a guy, I think he played for I want to say this. It was either the Trailblazers or the Seahawks. I can't remember. But he owned this house, and he had this big house, big backyard, and it was like a big forest behind his house of uncut land. And so you go down this path, and then eventually they put up a fence there, but people would keep cutting through the fence, and they made a big gap in it. So I'd go down there and just kind of hang out. And one day I went down there, and there was a group of little high school kids, and they were sitting in a little circle on the ground. And at first I just kind of walked past them, and I went down. I probably peed down out there or something, and came back up. And they were like, oh, hey, you want to smoke with us? And they had a bong. And I was like, well, I mean, I've always wanted to. I just never had the opportunity. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I sat down and I smoked with them a little bit. And it was pretty cool, just getting to know people. And I really like that aspect about smoking. Like, it's something that you can do with other people, and it's a very social thing to do. Or you can smoke by yourself, but when you do it with other people, that's when I enjoy it. Like, you get to try different things with each other, or like you get high and then you go do something fun together, or, just that social aspect is kind of what drew me to it. So, I smoked with them, and I'm 17, I'm living with my parents, so I'm boarding home. And then that's really when it really hit me. I like splashed water on my face. I'm trying to get all the smell off and make sure I look clean. And, I'm boarding home, and it felt like it was pulsing like this. Like I was boarding home, but it felt like everything was just like kind of the Matrix, but like flexing and pulsing past me. And it was so crazy. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And I get home, my parents, and my brother are sitting in the living room because you go in the front door and it's the living room area. That's where we had our TV, and they're watching the guy tightrope walk across Niagara Falls. And so I come home, I'm sitting on the ground, I'm watching it, and it's got the like GoPro cam on him, and I was watching that, and like I felt locked in, like it felt like I was him, like I could feel it almost, like I was that high, just like tripping out watching this guy tightrope walk across Niagara Falls. And I remember there was lasagna in the fridge, and so I remember just eating a ton of lasagna. I was so thirsty. I was just drinking a ton of water. My parents probably, figured something was going on with me, but I was just like, man, this lasagna is amazing. This is the best thing I ever ate in my life. And I'm not a huge fan of lasagna either. But at the time, it was just like amazing. Like it hit the spot. It was amazing. And so that was basically my first time smoking. And then after that, my girlfriend, um, we were able to get, marijuana more easily because then it got legalized in those next coming years. It got legalized recreationally, so it was easier to get it. And so we had like pretty much constantly pot to smoke. And a lot of the friends that we were hanging out with at the time, they would get together and they'd have like Halloween parties or like New Year's Eve parties or different things like that. And we'd all be sitting around smoking. And, that was a lot of fun. And I think it kind of added to the experience. And I think it was really cool. And it kind of makes it a more chill vibe. Like, there's nothing to talk about. So you just sit around and pass the bowl around. And then eventually, like, because you're high and you just conversation starts flowing. And it was really cool. And, um, until now, it seems like I'm really glorifying smoking. But also, there's some things like, can you hang out with these people without having smoking being the main reason why you're together? Like, is there more to the relationship? Does it have, some kind of substance to it? And I see that as kind of one of the downfalls of smoking because you don't really realize that, or like, what what do you share in common with these people other than smoking? And would your relationship have formed or have gotten to this place? Like, yes, it's kind of a negative and a positive because, you get to meet new people and it's great and you have fellowship with people, but then, what are you doing outside of just sitting around and smoking and, not really doing anything or accomplishing anything? And, um, now in my life, I want to have friends that are really accomplishing things or goal driven and they want to do things with their life more than just sit around and smoke. And I think it kind of took a toll on our relationship as well. We both started smoking. Like we come home to smoke and get high together, and then just be tired, and then not really do anything. And that just started. I think it did take a toll on us in different ways. That I kind of understand. Like we really got into it, and we had gone through a lot at the time. Like emotionally, and um, we would just kind of rely on that to help fix things instead of really talking about our problems. Like we would just smoke together, and then okay, yeah, then things are okay, like we're all fine and chill. But then there were some things that we just never really addressed, and instead of addressing those things and talking through them, we would just turn to smoking. And at first it was really, amazing. Like we'd get together and we'd just be like cuddled together out on her dad's back porch. We'd be smoking, like cuddled up together, and like loving each other, so deep in love. But then eventually it's like now we're just smoking all the time, every single day, every night, every day, every night. And and not that there's anything wrong with that initially, but just that we had those wounds that we weren't able to heal, and we were trying to find other ways, like drinking and smoking, to kind of fix those problems instead of actually addressing them and fixing them, and going through the work and putting in the work to get better together. And so yeah, then moving on, we broke up, and then I really, like I would be smoking by myself, or like I had a good friend, we'd get together, but we'd always go do things. We'd go out longboarding, or we'd go explore, or we'd go hike together, and then along the way, then we'd go smoke. It wouldn't be like, oh, we're gonna get together and just smoke, which sometimes we did. It was just that kind of a relationship and friendship that we could get together and smoke together and just chill. But then also we did other things, and like we would go out and explore together, and that was just kind of enhancing the experience. It was very much just not artificially trying to create anything. It was already a bond there. There was no unhealthy tendencies there. We were just there, companionship, um, and it kind of enhanced our experience together. And I think aside from that, just going through a breakup and all that, I really turned to that. Plus, dealing with depression and sleeping disorders, and not being hungry. Like I wouldn't go as far as to say eating disorders, but I wouldn't be hungry a lot. But then I would smoke, and then I would wait a little bit, and then I'd be ready to eat. So I think that would help me, be hungry or help put me to sleep when the depression is kicking in. I'm not hungry, I'm not sleeping, and again, I think that's great. Like if somebody needs that, and I didn't want to take any kind of pill medication, like a pharmaceutical, because of the way it made me feel, the way I felt it changed me. Because I've been taking I can't think of the name, but it's supposed to help melatonin. I've taken that in pretty high doses, and then yes, it'd put me to sleep, but it would be hard, deep sleep, and I couldn't really remember my dreams, which is important to me. Like either wasn't dreaming or I couldn't remember my dreams. And I'd wake up just feeling groggy and not necessarily like I had slept properly and gotten a good night's sleep. It would just be like hard, deep sleep, and so I didn't really like that. And I felt like, yes, it does kind of help in a way, but also I didn't want to rely on that. And, cannabis did help me with that. So I feel like, yes, it can be helpful to people that are dealing with that, especially someone with a high, um, like any kind of, like cancer related things like chemotherapy, or like if you do have a big problem with sleeping, like insomnia or anything like that, then I think yes, it can really help you, and that's why I believe in it, because it's a natural medication or a natural remedy instead of turning to pills and medication, which I don't believe in. I don't think that really helps, and it's plugged so much by society and by doctors and everything. Like cannabis has only recently become medically available, and then even more recently recreationally available. And so doctors a long time have been relying on, pills and medications and maybe therapy, which I don't really agree with. I haven't met any therapist now that really could help me. Um, and so I feel like that was, a natural way. And yeah, there are some side effects, like just overall grogginess, or like if I smoke a lot the night before, like I wake up in the morning a little bit kind of, blurry, but there's no, like the physical side effects, like it changes from person to person. Like some people says it makes their stomach upset. Some people say it gives them headaches and stuff like that. But that could just be the strain, or like the pesticides and stuff, if they used anything like that, or the type of soil, or what kind of water they're using. All those different things factor into the quality of your cannabis. And so if you're getting something that's bad, low quality, yes, there are going to be some negative side effects. But I digress. I agree with it overall as like a medication for people that, need it. And I think from a young age, it will change how you feel and the way your brain operates. That's scientifically proven. Like the way that your brain synapses start firing, I believe that's the word. Um, like it lowers your dopamine levels. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just trying to speak, also giving information here, because it will change the way your brain operates, and it will adapt to that, because it's, a living and growing organ just like the rest of your body. And so if you get used to that level of like always trying to obtain this high, then your brain is going to function at a much lower level, a much lower rate, and it will develop into that. And eventually, maybe you can break out of that cycle and help develop it more, which I've tried to do in the past couple of years. Where for a long time I was heavily relying on cannabis, and I did feel like it had kind of changed me in a way. And now I feel like I'm coming out on the other side of that a little bit, because I've moved away from Washington, and cannabis hasn't been readily available out here. Like you have to go find somebody, or even now they have a medical dispensary, but you have to have your medical card, and you have to, go through all this process, and it's not as easy as just, oh, I go in the store, show my ID, pay for it, and I get it. Um, it's a little bit more difficult, and they're making it more hoops you got to jump through. But then again, people are doing it that don't necessarily need it. They're just seeing it as, oh, I could do this. I want to smoke, like I'll go get my medical card, and they don't necessarily have a medical problem, in that sense, it's more for recreational use, with just the excuse of being medical. So why not just make it recreational anyway? And, like I said, it's not as easily available out here for me to get. So I'm not really seeking it out. Like if I could just go down to corner store and I could go pick up a gram or eighth or anything like that, then fine. But it's not as easy here. You have to go to somebody and it's a lot more expensive than it was in Washington. Like just comparatively, I'd be spending so much money trying to maintain that habit of like weekly and daily smoking if I was, still doing it as much as I did. And back in Washington, there's just so much oversaturation that it's all really cheap and easy to get. But out here, it's really expensive. So, in that way, I've been trying to save money and trying to do better and upgrade my living. And I don't really want to be spending all that money. And in general, also, I think it's just kind of not a waste of money if it's helping you, but it is somewhere that your money is going that's not necessarily helping level you up, like investing or buying assets or like doing something like fixing your vehicle or doing something that's actually upgrading your lifestyle. Like maybe it is helping you a little bit mentally and physically, but overall, like it's not getting you to a better place in life unless you're really utilizing it. And, so now like I do have a couple friends out here, like we'll hang out and they'll smoke me out every so often, but it's not a regular thing for me and I don't rely on it at all. Um, on the flip side of that, I do feel like it encourages my creativity. Like something about it when I smoke, it just unlocks like this creative wave and I get into the flow and like just ideas start coming to me and more so than usual. Like I kind of have to reach for that when I'm sober, and I kind of have to like press hard for that. But then when I smoke, it all just starts flowing so easily, and so I do appreciate that from time to time. And like I need that creative boost, and I don't want to rely on it. Like I said, I don't want to rely on that and think that I need this in order to create, or I need this in order to be effective and artistic. I already have that in me. It just kind of enhances it, so I do enjoy that. And so I'll never completely just say like, no, I'm never gonna smoke again. I don't think, or maybe yes in the future, who's to say? But just from where I've come to where I am now, and I see other people that smoke all the time, and I'm thinking like, I still love these people, and I still want the best for them. But at the same time, I'm like, I see where your life is because of where I was. I can relate to that. I see you're trying to mask problems or hurts with smoking, and maybe it helps you feel better or forget about it. Like the same thing with drinking. People say that you just drink to forget. Sometimes you kind of smoke just to comfort yourself. You're like, it creates a pillow of comfort around your emotions, so it's harder to deal with things and necessarily address them and properly address them. Like if you have problems, relationship problems, life problems, don't turn to something else. Just address it and see, what do I have to change about myself or my environment, or what I'm doing in order to get better and to feel better about my life. And I'm one to talk because sometimes I get stuck into these patterns and I don't really see my value. Like my mom would say that. She'll say, you don't see your value. You're not, living up to your potential, and not in a mean way, but like I've really had to think about that a lot. Like since I quit smoking regularly, and I won't say got sober because I still drink quite a bit, but yeah, I just, if you're in that cycle of smoking, or if that's something that you're curious about, just learning about it from somebody that's gone through it. um I'm just trying to give you guys information, like where you can come from, like from where I come from and where you can end up if you just try to take that leap and give it up, or just start taking little breaks, little tolerance breaks, or just, take like a, certain amount of time off from smoking and just see like, okay, what do I really need to focus on in life instead of, smoking? What can I do in my free time, and what can I do to get myself better? And the last thing before I wrap up this video, a lot of people probably by the dreads, they assume that I am a pothead, which, I was for a long time. And when I had dreads, yes, but then, um, just my appearance, I try to, the same with the polo, like I try to show people that there is another side of me. There is like that complex, thoughtful side. There is that complex, like classy, not exactly what you'd expect, articulate. And, like that's kind of how I present myself to people. Like if they can get past my appearance and really get to know me, then I'll show them, there's more to me than just some punk little hippie, or whatever. um, there was that period of time where I was a smoker, but then also that wasn't defining me, and I didn't want that to define me. So I didn't necessarily associate with like a stoner. Yes, I did smoke a lot, but I don't want people to ever assume that of me. And so then I'm kind of breaking out of that. Like if they say, "Oh, you smoke weed, don't you?" I'll be like, "Actually, you know what? I don't." Maybe from time to time if, I'm with friends, or if it does so happen, but it's really not anything that I'm doing anymore. It's not part of my lifestyle anymore. It's not a habit that I have. It is something that I enjoy and I have enjoyed, but um with anything, I've tried to grow and become better. And so I'm just, I want the best for all you guys out there too. I hope that you took something away from this. And remember, love yourself before anybody else. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.